Hello, everybody. I'm DeAndre Davenport from Spirit and Truth Transformational Coaching. Today, I'm going to talk about something that really dropped heavy in my spirit this morning during my meditation and contemplation very early. It hit me so hard it like knocked the breath out of me. I'm just going to be talking about how our emotions work. We're going to talk about the difference between your emotions and your nervous system reacting. And I'm going to talk about the difference. Like, I'm going to talk to empaths, people that you could absorb, the difference between empathy and absorption. All right. So I got my notes because it was so much. I'm gonna just go ahead and just talk. I'm not gonna do any performing. I just want to be straightforward and focus just on the information. Okay. So let's get right to it. What are emotions? Emotions are sensations that you feel within your body. Example of emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, or disgust. Something like that. We feel those all the time. Those are some of the basic emotions that we go through. And I know emotions get a bad rap in life. People are like, oh, you're just being emotional. But emotions are very powerful because the emotions actually tells us what we're feeling, tell us what's going on in our mind. What are we receiving? And our emotions are triggered and is activated. So we gotta stop, like just kicking emotions to the side and treating it like it's nothing. No, emotions are very powerful and we must truly understand it. Now, with my business, I teach the power of the 12 universal laws and it governs our life. And when you understand the universal laws, again, you'll know that you have power and you have authority over the energy that you have in your life and just the things you want to come to pass in your life. The laws will show you how to do that. Now, one of the laws, because when I think of emotions are not set in stone. They're not static. Static means still, sit in one spot. That means stationary. Emotions are not stationary. Emotions are dynamic, which means emotions must flow. Emotions like water. And anytime that emotions are not flowing, it's stagnant, it's blocked, it could cause a blockage, and that's where a lot of our pain come, that's where a lot of our anger come, that's where a lot of our frustration come, and all the different things we feel in our body. It comes from a stagnation, of our emotions. On the surface, yeah, it comes from a stagnation of our emotions. We got to understand emotions must flow. So the revelation came to me that um through emotions, the law of polarity is linked into that. It's anchored into emotions because, again, emotions must move, right? So here's the thing: everything in nature has a dual nature, right? Everything has a dual nature. I said that wrong. Everything is dual in nature. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Everything is duality. That's basically a definition of the law of polarity. Up, down, left, right. There's always a polar opposite. And the reason why I say that is because emotions are basically one and the same thing. Uh, if you're sad, then you got happy. They are the same emotion, it's just in different degrees of how they move, depending on the situation. Wherever the energy is pulling, if it's pulling towards the left, that's more of the negative side. So you go from happiness to sadness. That's so they're the same thing. You know how they say there's a thin line between love and hate? That is true because they are all the same thing. It's just two sides of the same token. That's it. Heads or tails, it's still a coin. So that's how you got to look at your emotions. So they have to move. Emotions are not meant to stay in one spot. And once we get that, we can move with mastery in our life. Okay. Emotions are energy in motion. Energy is energy in motion. You get it? Emotion. I know y'all probably heard that before. But again, like I said, they are not meant to sit stagnant. Emotions are meant to move. Emotions must flow. Now, when emotions get stuck, we go into, a lot of times it's going to lead us into survival mode. And survival mode is a place of scarcity. Now we're more on the negative side. Now we're trying to fight for our life. Like in our brain, we have they call it the reptilian brain, because now you go into what is called fight and flight. Fight or flight, feast or famine. Now you got to do everything you need to survive. We don't live, out in the, outside. We don't live in the woods. We don't live in the jungle. We're not protecting ourselves from animals or anything like that. Now, life is a little different. So we're not meant to stay in that mode, because when we get into fight or flight, when we get into survival mode, it releases the cortisol in our body. And that is the stress. That's the stress fluid. I call it stress fluid. But it releases stress in our body. It's a fluid that goes from our brain into our body. And now we're stressed. And we get stuck in that mode. Some people live in survival mode for the majority of their life and wonder why they can't get the results in. But there's a way we can come out of survival mode, okay? But we got to understand. We got to understand what our emotions and how emotions work, so we can come out of that, okay? So we don't want our emotions to get stuck. Emotions must flow. Stick with me, because I'm going somewhere with this, all right? Now, here's a message that I have for my empaths, all right? If you're an empath, that means you could feel what other people feel. I'm an empath. I didn't know it for a while, but I do. I could feel what other people feel. And when I started, I'm in the IT field, but when I got into the customer service side, it was so easy for me to empathize, because they used to teach us, hey, you got to have empathy and sympathy for the people. I naturally did that so well. It was without effort, and I was able to calm the person down, because for some reason, in the instant, in the moment, I had the ability to feel what they feel, what they were feeling. They were feeling afraid, sad, or disappointed, or frustrated because they can't get their service to work. And I had the ability, I had the skill set, so I was able to calm them and navigate them through whatever they need, because I was feeling what they were feeling. Being an empath is very powerful, but you got to understand how it works, because it can work for you or it can work against you, all right? So look, check this out. Let me tell you about empathy. We got to understand the difference between empathy and absorption, all right? Absorbing. Empathy is the ability to understand the emotions of others. That is a gift. Absorption is taking the emotions as if they were your own. That is done by conditioning. And we will unconsciously take on somebody's pain. It took me years to figure this out, but I will be doing just fine, no problem. Then maybe I will go around someone, and all of a sudden, I'm taking on this emotion. All of a sudden, I'm angry. What's wrong with you? People ask, what's wrong with you? I'll say, I don't know. I'm just angry. For what? I'll start checking myself. Well, this ain't make me mad. This ain't make me mad. This ain't make me mad. This gotta be someone else's. But it took me years to figure that out. But when I'm in a state of survival, when I'm in a state of scarcity, when I'm not balanced, I begin to absorb people's emotions, and I keep it as my own. And because I'm a life path 2, 11/2, I could become indecisive. I could be up and down. I don't know what mood I'm feeling, because I'm feeling other people's emotions, and now I'm taking it as my own. And now I'm in the worst situation, because I done took somebody else's emotion, gave them advice, they feel better, but I'm still holding their stuff. Now that only irritates whatever I got. So now I'm taking up unnecessary room for my own. Now I got to deal with my own stuff and somebody else's, and now it's confused. And then if I get caught up in that, now whoever I'm close to, they'll start feeling whatever I'm feeling. If there's other empaths around me, they'll start feeling my emotion, which really wasn't mine. It could just go like that. So when you're an empath, it's important for you to stay balanced. It's important for you to stay grounded. You got to understand what it means to be grounded. You got to be balanced, whatever makes you feel relaxed. Some people just, without knowing it, be like, if I go on a walk, it clears my mind. That's because you grounded yourself. You know, some people go about water. You ground yourself. Things in nature keep you grounded. The right kind of music keep you grounded. Exercising keeps you grounded because exercise is movement, and when you move in a healthy manner, it releases that survival mode. You come out of survival, and you start releasing that, and that's how you. Another way you can release your trapped emotions. Emotions supposed to flow. But if you start working out, you start releasing those good hormones and you start feeling good. You start feeling relaxed. So you got to know how to deal with that. If you're holding someone else's emotions and you're not grounded, you're going to absorb it and you're going to put yourself in a wrong situation. So to my empaths, keep yourself grounded. There's enough research out here. There's enough tools for you to learn how to get grounded. They even got grounding shoes where you can go walking and you can pull from the nature. They got grounding covers, anything. They got so many tools out there where you can actually ground yourself. They got music, they got meditation, all this type of stuff. Whatever makes you feel calm and relaxed. Now you can cause that survival brain to shut up, and you can go into the thinking brain. The thinking brain is where you're calm. Now you can make decisions because now the emotions can stabilize. Now remember what I said about emotions. They're supposed to flow. They move. So you got to understand that when certain emotions is happening, instead of reacting to the emotions, you got to be able to know what emotion you're feeling, detect it, get out of your head, and actually get into your body, feel what's going on. And depending on what it is, you can redirect your emotions. That's mastery. Redirect that energy instead of just being compulsive, just feel it and just, you know, that's what a lot of babies do. That's what toddlers do. They act out because they don't have the words. Only thing, they can feel it in their body. So when the babies and toddlers are on the ground and they're rolling around and they're shaking, they're doing that because actually with them kicking themselves around, when you shake your body, you can actually shake the trauma off. You can shake the frustration off. You can shake the anger off. Whatever that negative emotion that's gripping you, they will actually shake it off and they'll cry and then they'll go back on with life. Us as adults, we keep that junk trapped in and we have our own forms of tantrums. But men, sometimes we'll get frustrated. We'll punch through a wall. A woman will get mad. She might throw something. She might get mad at herself. You might go into, different vices or something like that. You might get yourself into smoking. You might get into drinking. You might use the wrong type of intimacy. You might play it, whatever it is, because that emotions is trapped and you have not taken time to identify what it is so that you can redirect it, find things to keep you grounded. Now you're just acting out that emotion. And now consequences come with that. There's a universal law called cause and effect. Cause and effect. If you react to an emotion that you have not checked and you just react to it, oh my goodness, in the heat of the moment, consequences come with that. So you got to actually learn how to respond instead of reacting. That takes mastery. So you got to sit back and think, what's going on? Now, there are some situations where you don't have time to think, but there's always a way to work things out. And sometimes we're going to mess up. So we will make mistakes, but we can learn from it. All right? Man, this is getting good. So yeah, now back to the empath and people, period. You don't even have to be an empath. You got to learn how to be emphatic without absorbing it, okay? When you're picking up someone's emotions, this is what I want for people, period, whether you're an empath or not. Whatever it is, if you detect that you are picking up someone's emotion, here's what I want you to say to yourself. I understand that they are angry, but their anger is not mine. Even though I can feel it, their anger is not my anger. I must stay present without losing myself. That's something you got to train your mind to think. Be aware. Start learning how to do that. If you want, I can help you. I can teach you that. This is all the type of things I teach you on my coaching and everything. I even wrote a book. It's amazing. I'll tell you about the book later. But that emotion is not yours. And just because you can feel it, that does not mean you're supposed to deal with it. You don't have to resolve everyone's issue. You don't have to be the hero. You don't have to take on the hero archetype. It takes mastery. And that's why it's so important to get to know yourself. Get to know yourself. Self-care is important. You must put yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you ain't going to be able to take care of nobody. And if you do take care of someone else, they're going to be good while you're still left bleeding and leaking and dying and weak. So you got to learn how to pay attention to situations like that, all right? Now, here's another thing. We need to learn the difference between our emotions and our nervous system reactions. That is something personally that through my journey of self-care and loving myself, I had to actually learn that everything I was feeling wasn't always my emotion, but it was a reaction to my nervous system, okay? Now, not everything you feel is an emotion. Some of what you feel is your nervous system reacting. Emotions deals with the heart expression. Emotions are vibrational states that can be shifted into different directions. But when you're dealing with your emotion, when you're dealing with your survival system, not survival system, but your nervous system is protective. Your nervous system is there to protect you. In the context of this conversation or this video, we're going to talk about how your nervous system is there to protect you. Your nervous system is a shield. So here's the tricky part. Both your emotions and your nervous system show up in your body. That's why it's hard to distinguish the two. Emotions ask to be understood, but your nervous system wants to be regulated. It has to be regulated, all right? I got some more cool stuff on this. I want to try to hit some other points on this. Let's see. Let's look at some examples of your nervous system. When your nervous system kicks in, it reacts so fast that you don't even think before your nervous system reacts. They call it a trigger. It's like you can hear a certain sound. Like if say for instance, you got a love language of words of affirmation, right? Your words of affirmation. So what people say to you really makes a strong effect. And because I talked about polarity, if it's a positive, if it's a thing that's uplifting, then your energy levels is going to really go up. But if someone is speaking to you negatively, it's going to hurt. And your levels is going to go down, and it's going to arouse that anger and that frustration. But it's going to happen so fast because you could just be doing something. And as soon as somebody shift their tone, it'll trigger your nervous system, and your nervous system is going to say, danger, danger. Someone is trying to hurt you. You're going to feel like danger. Something bad is going to happen, that a bad consequence is linked to someone lifting up their tone because maybe you had a traumatic pain, a traumatic event that happened to you when you were younger or recent. Maybe you had a parent or someone that you love yelled at you and spoke to you in negative ways. Maybe they were verbally abusive. And so anytime you hear somebody tone slightly go high, your nervous system instantly kicks in as a shield. So you're not emotional in this situation. You're trying to survive, and your nervous system wants to save you. That's why I say your nervous system is protective. Past trauma does it, old conditioning, childhood survival strategies, safety patterns, the body remembering what your mind forgot. That's the nervous system. And how does the nervous system manifest? It'll manifest like when it feels like danger is there, it'll manifest tightness in your chest, shallow breath, your heartbeat will start beating fast, you'll freeze, you'll start feeling withdrawn, you'll shut down. This is when you start absorbing other people's emotions, when you're in that state of survival because your nervous system was shouting danger, or even if you're feeling unsafe, that's signs of your nervous system going on. None of this is actually emotion. It's called dysregulation. Your nervous system wants to be regulated, okay? So that's why I said those things can be confused, but understanding the difference will really help. That's why becoming grounded, learning how to ground yourself, learning how to think before you say something, learning how to respond over reaction. Responding causes you have to sit back and you have to think and consider what you're feeling. And then you respond. Reaction, you don't think when you react. It just happened instantly. That's the nervous system reaction for survival and protection. I used to lump everything into that category of emotions, but many of it was reactions to past traumas that I had. So guys, don't disregard your emotions. Your emotions are very important. We need it. It's energy and motion, you know. Arguments. So if you're a words of affirmation person, if words really affect you and you're an empath person, you can feel other people's feelings, you really gotta take time to pay attention to what you're feeling in your body. If someone is asking you something and they want an answer, you can't give it to them. If you're feeling all this type of things happening to your body, you're gonna have to let them know, look, I can't answer that right now because I'm not in the right space to make the right decisions. Let me get back with you. Especially if you don't need to answer that thing, if it's not apparent that you answer that thing now, make boundaries. That's another thing about empathic people or people in general. You got to make healthy boundaries, not necessarily to keep people out, but the boundaries to protect you. You can't fix everybody's problems. You can't be the hero. You need to have a boundary. So pay attention to those things. If you're feeling your heartbeat, your breath is going fast, or somebody coming to you, your heartbeat real fast, you got to just stop, breathe. Let the person, let me get back with you on that. I'm going to say the wrong thing. And in most arguments, you'll end up saying the wrong thing, especially my fellas. Look, when we have a dispute, with a significant other, whether it's our wife, whether it's our girlfriend, whether it's a mother or a sister, but a lot of times when it's the opposite sex, sometimes women know how to respond and say words real fast. Man, I'll be like, hold up. And I'll say the wrong thing. And when you say the wrong thing, now you probably said the wrong thing and now it's hurting them. So now the initial thing that y'all were arguing about became about something else that wasn't really what you wanted to say because you couldn't get your thoughts together. You got to stop, know who you are, understand, look, I got to come back to you. They got to respect that. But it's up to you to go back, do the work, figure out what's going on, process, and then come back. Set boundaries on some of this stuff. So that way the wrong thing won't be said because it's only going to make things worse, okay? But yeah, knowing how the nervous system operates, when you start feeling those things inside of you, understand that you're in survival mode and you feel like you're in danger. And sometimes if you react in like anger and force, sometimes when people, I'm gonna use men for an example, our emotions can show up in anger, frustration, and we might be frowning with our face. We probably look like Incredible Hulk, but on the inside, behind that is hurt. It's hurt. It's fear. It's bringing back a memory that hurt us. But on the outside, it looks like we about to tear this place apart. And sometimes you do tear the place apart because now you're having that tantrum because you lost control. So now instead of you shaking yourself, you're shaking everything around. You're throwing things, you're punching holes in the wall. And if you have no control, some people become abusive like that because they don't know how to control their emotions. They don't know how to redirect their emotions, and they don't know how to distinguish the difference between their emotions or their nervous system reacting to a past trauma. Man, this is the heavy stuff, man. If you still here, then I know this is resonating with you. Now, I had to give you all those things because I couldn't make it pretty. I just had to come straight for you the way I feel like I want to express it to you. So I wrote a book. It's called Affirm with Power. Uh, Affirmations align with the 12 universal laws. Now, I know I'm talking about affirmations, and what does that have to do with emotions? It has a lot to do with emotions because your affirmations is powered by what you're actually feeling. But there is a part in my book, and I talk about the big three. The big three are your thoughts, your emotions, and your speech. Okay? You cannot master your emotions until you first regulate your nervous system. So I talk about how your thoughts have a vibration. Your emotions have a vibration, and your speech have a vibration. All of this is your attitude. That's what determines your attitude. Okay? It's my definition. I call it the big three. And if you paid attention to this whole lesson, one of the big three I talked about was emotions. Understanding what it is, understanding that emotions is flow. It has to flow. Emotion is dynamic. It's not static. It's not stationary. It must flow. And when you know what emotions is and you pay close attention to it and you ground it, then you'll understand how to redirect it. Instead of responding impulsively, you will pause, you will wait, you will pay attention, and then you will redirect that energy into healthy spots. Okay? That's all about mastering the big three. And you could get my book. It's called Affirm with Power. I'll have it, in the comment section. It's probably even be in my bio or whatever it is. But you got to get this book, Affirm with Power, because it will talk about the stuff that I'm telling you about. It will talk about the 12 universal laws, how you govern your energy. It's going to talk about what I went through when my parents got divorced. It's going to talk about I get real candid in this book, and it took me a while to release it. I started this book in 2015, but I finally released it this year. So if you want to know more about, that big three and how to regulate that, you got to go ahead and get my book, Affirm with Power, man. It's an ebook. It's straight to the point. I have no fluff. But if you don't get anything out of this video, I hope you understand how your emotions work. And I hope you understand the difference between having empathy and absorbing other people's problems. Okay? Listen, look, I come with light and I come with love, man. I hope to see you in more videos, guys, and you all have a blessed day.